What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight to continue our lake breakdown series for Carr Lake, or what I actually had mispronounced as Kerr Lake. And we are actually in the Steel Creek area still. And actually got a message from one of the subscribers that said, hey, actually, instead of calling it the Steel Creek area, you should call it the Nutbush area because that is what the locals will know it more as. So tonight we're going to break down that area. We're going offshore. It's the Nutbush area, basically right at the state line down. We're going to break down that whole section, talk about the offshore stuff, see if we can put you guys on some fish. Let's go. Here we are back on Carr Lake, which I like to call Kerr Lake because that's just the way it's spelled, but it's actually Carr Lake. And I was actually informed by one of our subscribers that the area that I'm calling here as the Steel Creek area is actually what you guys refer to as the Nutbush area. So Little Nutbush, and I guess the bigger Nutbush. But my apologies for not knowing the names there. So I'll change some of the names from the Steel Creek area to the Nutbush area, so it makes a lot more sense to you guys. But as we mentioned in the intro, we're just going to continue on this lake breakdown. And we've really been working in this area. If you've missed the last couple of videos, probably last 2 or 3 videos, we've really been working on this southern section of the lake, this Nutbush area, or what I've been referring to as the Steel Creek area. So we've gone through Google Earth, we've taken a look at the water when it was down, we're looking for rock piles, debris, laydowns, pretty much anything that fish may want to collect to or typically will collect to. We went ahead and marked all that stuff. And then now what we're doing is we're pulling back and we're opening up what I'm using the app here, just Navionics mobile boating app, but I'm using the app to really look at the contours of the lake to try to kind of figure out where would be really high spots on the lake or high potential, high opportunity spots on the lake to look. Now, obviously this is a giant lake, right? So there's no way that I'm going to be able to mark every single offshore hotspot. And it's also possible, some of these I mark, there's not going to be anything there. And maybe there's fish there sometimes, depending on, what season it is and what transition they're in and where they're at and all that good stuff. The goal here hopefully is to put you guys on some fish because we're marking high percentage areas, but also to teach you where to look for the fish. So if you come out here and you see that, hey, what's unique about this area, and you can tell here, we've got a little point that's got a little offshore hump on it, kind of nice flat top. You can see you got a flat top here. Out here it's a more of an extended point, or you could even say this is a hump that's out here. So you start looking for that stuff, and then you just match that up to other areas on the lake, and that's really just called patterning, doing a pattern. And really that's what patterns are about, is finding something very specific that you're looking at, or how you're catching the fish, and then taking that same thing and matching that exact environment and everything to the next spot that you fish. And when you do it, you'll be amazed at how many fish you'll catch just by following patterns. All right, so I'm getting way off track. Let's go ahead and jump in here. We're going to start at the state line, and we're just going to work our way down. And the one thing that I want to talk about here is notice how we've got this really good creek channel that's coming down here, right? So we got a real decent little creek channel coming all the way down through here. And we're going to really pay attention to, it's probably more of a river channel, but we're really going to pay attention to that. And if that river channel comes anywhere close to any type of land over here, or any extended point, or any humps, which I probably should have marked that one right there. Notice that's a high hump. If it comes close to any of that stuff, we're going to want to go check it out. One, because these riverbeds and creek beds, they will wash up debris, and you'll find rock piles and debris piles and things like that off on the corners. Obviously, the corners are going to be bends or channel swings, you'll hear us call it, all that good stuff. That's going to be where fish really like to collect, the outsides of the bends and the insides of the bends on those nice little flats that are in there and things like that. Now, some of these, like in this case, this river channel is way out here, right? We're talking pretty deep water. I don't know what we're talking about, but probably 80, 90 foot. Yeah. Let's see here. What's that say? yeah, 80, 77 foot. So I mean, we're in about 80 to 90 foot. So that's going to be really, really deep. But if we come up here, this is 25 foot and is fairly close to that river channel. And it's close to that river channel swing, right? It's swinging around, or river channel bend. It's swinging around to this point or to this hump. And then the bend is actually right in here. Now that's some really super, super, super deep stuff right in here. You know, you're talking super deep, but up here is not too bad. And that might be fishable. So anyways, pay attention to that river channel as it goes down, because I guarantee you if it's touching stuff, we're going to start talking about it pretty quickly. So coming out here, we spent way too much time on the intro, so let's keep rolling. Let's talk about these spots that I just talked about in the first place. So this is right up here, just south of the state line. You've got a nice little point up here with a nice flat top. Looks like there's a buoy right in there, so it should be pretty easy for you to recognize. You've also got this underwater point that comes out here, which actually creates really kind of three different points here. You've got a nice hump that's right here. You got a nice point with a little ledge going on right in this area. And then you've also got like this little point that comes out here too. And notice how it's 16 foot right here where my hand is. And then it drops to 35 foot right here. So you've got a really big break going on right here in this area. And again, it's right there by those buoys. So if you can basically just go up to the buoys, you're right in those areas. And maybe that's why those buoys are there, is to let you know you're getting into some pretty shallow stuff. But now on this one, remember, you've got this other hump here too. You should be able to see it on your graph, so it should pop out pretty big time. Also here, you know, if those points are working, here's another one of those good points, you know, with the flat tops. If we go on in here, I'm going into that first arm. So if you're wondering where I'm headed here, that's where we're going to go. And really, again, we're just focused on offshore stuff, right? If you want to look at the stuff that we found on Google Earth, that's going to be the other videos. Just go look at our lake breakdown playlist and you'll find those out here. But here again, nice little hump that comes out, or not hump, nice point that comes out with a nice shallow top on it, right? I really like the ones that I can find that have that really flat top on it. It's, I don't, you know, I guess you could call it a flat, because technically it is a flat, like that's on top of the point. But anytime I find those flats, that's where it seems to have the most, I seem to have the most production. And not to say that I don't have times when I find fish on tapering points like this one up here where it just kind of tapers up. It doesn't have a flat on top of it. But I don't seem to have as much success on those as I do definitely have on these. I feel like the fish can push these up. I feel like you can get shell beds, you can get debris that gets up on top of these flats, all kinds of good stuff. So they're definitely areas that you'll want to look at. Same type thing here as well. You know, you get nice big flat top, and then it tapers off out at the end. So this is a really good point. These are great places too in the fall. When you can find those points in the fall and they're firing, you can just go on a straight out pattern on those and just go through each and every single one of them. So I pulled back a little bit here just to show you where I'm at. We're going to kind of go down in here. It looks like this is the Dix branch maybe, but we're going to go down in here. Now, obviously, there's probably some pretty good stuff in here that I could have marked, but I can't mark everything for you guys. You know, check out these points. I didn't see anything in here that was too crazy, but man, it's super hard to tell. I mean, you've got all kinds of awesome contours on your lake, just so many different areas. But the key areas that I did like, I really like this spot right here on this side. And of course, I should have came back around to it, but really like this spot here because if you notice, you've got kind of somewhat of a nice little slow contour here. So some really shallow stuff going on here, right? These docks are pretty shallow, all of that stuff. But if you look right here, it basically goes shallow to immediately dropping off. So into something pretty deep here. So my guess is there's probably some rocks here. This could be a nice little ledge to fish around. And what I also like about it is if you pull out and you're just looking at it from from an overall where it's set up, if you're thinking just, tracking the fish that actually do the big migrations, right, where they come all the way in and then they go all the way back out. And this is giant, so I don't know if they would actually make it all the way back out to the main lake. They may come out and get way up in here. But anyways, I like it because if I'm thinking transitions and I'm just thinking coming down to here, and this would be a great little staging spot for them to get between the areas, right? So they can come in here, they can feed up on these flats in the fall that are up here and stuff like that. They got really good flats. But then when they get back in here to the back of this branch, you've got, from a spawning standpoint, you've got some really, really nice secondary points here, and like this one is a perfect one. Secondary point with the ledge. You got a nice point here. Again, nice little secondary point right in there. So great places to look late fall, or I guess really maybe not late fall, but like mid fall when they really start pushing that bait farther back in there. These would be great places. And then obviously in the springtime, post-spawn and pre-spawn, especially this area and this area right here, those are going to be good spots to go look. I would imagine those are pretty high percentage areas where you could tell, you know, you more than likely are going to see a fish. So now go over here. There's clearly going to be more in here, but like I said, I can't mark all the offshore stuff, so I try to just kind of keep it to the primo spots. But I really did like this spot. Felt like I needed to mark it for you. And if you come up here and you look, it's another type of one of those things where you got these little secondary points that come out here, but it's got a straight up ledge that just comes right across here. So a really good ledge right here. I could see them coming back in here and spawning. It's got nice little shallow areas. It's got a little spot where it's actually facing north, which is nice. You know, it just looks good, and it gets down to really deep water pretty quick, and you got little ledges right in here, little ledges right in there. I just like that whole spot. Looks pretty productive. Let's pull back out of this pocket just a little bit. We're going to come out here, getting closer to main lake. Let's take a look at all these spots right in here. So again, you know, I told you we're looking for spots where we have those flat tops, and then it either tapers off or you know, it can drop off. Obviously, if it drops, that's going to be even a hotter spot. But let's look, you know, say like these three. This looks really, really good right here. I mean, you got really good points that come out. This one looks awesome. Look at the contours here, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Something is going on right here. This is very interesting. You don't see that a lot. And so you know you've got something going on, maybe even back in here, like right in this area. This point, you know, I'm going to scan. If I'm coming up here, I'm going to, you know, probably hit this point because this is going to be not as pressured as this would have been. You know, a lot of people are probably going to be setting up on that. Just the way it sets up is perfect. But, you know, maybe come over here and see if maybe the fish have pulled over here because they are getting slammed over there. Or just come up here, maybe they're not, and just scan this whole spot right in here. Because there could be something right here around this little loop-de-doo thing, or a little extra point you have out here. This point looks awesome. You've also got a hump that's over here. So again, maybe this is getting hammered pretty good. Pull over here. They could pull over to this hump just to get off the pressure. So some things to think about while you're out there. Now let's go ahead and keep moving up. Let's go ahead and come up to the top of this branch. And as we come up to the top, we got some pretty good stuff that's up here. This looks like potentially like an old pond, a couple old ponds. I don't know if we marked those with Google Earth or if we were even able to see them with Google Earth, but you can definitely tell there's something going on right here. It almost looks like old ponds. So if those are old ponds, you may want to come in here and kind of fish around where the pond dams are, like right in there and right in here, like right there where my finger is. And then also up here, kind of in that little saddle area that you see right there, that could be a good spot. But the spots that I really want you to look at is going to be more over here. Notice how it has this nice flat top. It's about 11 foot or so. And then it drops like crazy to about 28 to 40 foot. So you're going to have some type of a ledge going on right in here, or some type of a major break. You can see how dark those contours are. That means that thing's splitting hard and it's going down super, super fast. So that's definitely going to be an area that you like to go look at. Up here, not as big of a drop. Obviously, you've got some pretty sharp contours, so it drops off fast, but you've got the nice flat tops, right? And the flat tops are always good areas to look as well. Now, while you're up here, you know, you may want to come in here and take a look at these little things. They look interesting how they're set up. They, like I said, this looks like a pond. That does too. That could be a pond too. And then, you know, I don't even know what this is, but this is a big, nice, flat top here, but that almost looks like somewhat of a pond as well. So, you know, it's just really hard to tell. These contours can be very deceiving as well, but hopefully you guys are getting the hang of what we're looking for here. So let's go ahead and pull back here, show you guys where I'm at. I'm right in here now. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to take a look at this little point, these points that are up here. And we're going to just kind of review it and see what we think. So these maybe not as good, but the thing I like about these is they, especially these two, they might not be as pressured because they're a lot further off and people don't like to get as deep. But these look like some pretty good little points that come over here off this big, you know, this big point kind of got these little fingers that come off here. So I like these areas here. Got a nice little drop there. And then I really like up around here, you know, where you get to the flat areas, it's a little bit shallower, 11 to 15 foot, something like that. You know, these little areas can be very productive areas, especially coming off those points. And then over here, another good point. Hopefully you're starting to see a pattern here, but notice these points that I'm finding. They're the ones with those shallow tops, right? Find the ones with the shallow flat tops and you're gonna find some fish for sure. You're gonna run into them. Then we're gonna swing on down. We're gonna go through that arm, swing back down. I'll kind of show you guys again where I'm at now. I'm right here, and we are going to take a look at what else we find here. So again, awesome point, right? Now, why is this point awesome? Well, it's got a couple different things. One, it's a main lake point. So main lake point, bingo, you're good. But also there's a couple interesting things here on this point. One, you got this nice flat here, not a nice flat right here. You've also got a nice flat that's up here as well that's kind of a lot deeper. So maybe wintertime, summertime, you get out here. But then the other area is gonna be right in here. See where this big old bend is right here? A lot of times I like to hang out in these little areas. This could be a nice little ledge right here too. So just definitely something to take a look at. You're gonna want to spend some time just scanning around these areas. You know, maybe not get up here and scan on top of that 8 and 9 foot because you might spook them a little bit depending on the water depth. But you could definitely get out here and do some side scanning and just see if you see any type of cover or anything like that that they may relate to. And if there is, you definitely want to fish those because those are going to look like really good areas. All right, let's keep moving down. See what else we can find. Notice something on the screen that's starting to show up, and that's going to be this river channel right here, right? And to me, just if you see a river channel, it's gonna bring food, it's gonna bring all kinds of good stuff to the area. So it just enhances the entire area. If there's a creek bed or there's a river channel or a creek channel in the area, it's just like it almost ups your percentages by 20, 30%, at least in my mind. At least that's how my mind thinks. So a couple things to think about here. Now, one, it's a really deep spot, but it would be a good spot to go look at, and that's gonna be up here in the left. I don't have it marked. It's about a 40-foot hump that's out here. And it drops off to about 75 foot over here on the left-hand side or more of the southwest side. But it looks like it could be really, really good. If you're comfortable fishing deep, I would definitely come over here and take a look at this. You've got a nice, good road bed that's over here. The road bed's going right across the hump. The river channel's swinging here, so you've got a nice drop here. It just all looks really good. This bridge is out in 80-something foot of water, but if you look at this point here, it could be good too, because it looks like this point kind of comes off. I don't know what the depth is here on that point. That point's 18 foot, and then it drops straight off down by the road bed in about 50 foot. So right there could be good too. Also, that little point, that little point that I put right here too, nice flat top. So definitely some good stuff right in there that you could go look at. And let's go down. We'll go down, we'll finish this little arm right here, and then we'll finish right here for the video today. So let's go ahead and let's keep looking and see what else we can find. There was that hump, right? So that's the hump that we just looked at. Now we're gonna swing around here. And obviously, again, there could be some good stuff in here. Look at all the contours. So I'm just gonna try to hit on some of the stuff that just pops out to me. But right in here, let's talk about all 4 of these. And hopefully you guys can see why all of them are just look to have some pretty good potential. Now, right in here, there's that submerged bridge. I marked this point right here because I could see a lot of wash up pushing up here. I could see maybe some debris and stuff being in here. Plus, that just looks like a really good point. But you may also want to come over here and look at this point because this one's a lot closer to that river channel right there. And I don't know if this is the main river channel and this is kind of a secondary little offshoot here, or if it actually comes down and swings right there. But it's definitely, something's definitely going on right here in this area. So fishing this point or around that area in there could be productive. And then obviously down here, kind of the same thing. It just doesn't have that big swing that you get right there. Now you've got another hump that's out here. So that one looks good. Over here, this looks really good. We swing over here. This is kind of, basically out in the middle of the lake. You're going to feel like you're fishing out in the ocean, fishing out here, but you got some really good humps that are out here. And they look like they could be really productive. Somebody has actually put something on here from the community that's saying probably that's a good fishing spot. And obviously, and it just looks like a good fishing spot. Real good humps, 11 feet on top, 16 feet. Over here, you got a nice good hump too. It just looks like a really productive area. And then even over here, it gets, really big drops here. And even out here off this point, big drop there. But I bet right up in here is going to be really good. And even on the insides of this too, you're just going to have to scan around and see what they're setting up on. If they are setting up on anything, if they're not setting up on anything type, cover, then obviously they're going to set up based on basically just the structure that's out there. So the contours and stuff like that. Also maybe the wind, the current, all that good stuff, things to think about. But you could scan that little area and I'm sure you could find a group of fish. So let's move down. Let's go inside this little branch right here. And again, we're just going to start pointing out the same type things, right? We're looking for those points that come out that have the shallower tops. So that's just one of them right there. Right here, we got a nice little hump that comes up. If we look right here, if I put my thing on there, it keeps saying offshore, but I was trying to get to the top of that hump, but it keeps interfering with me. The top of the hump's about 9 foot, so perfect place for debris and stuff to wash up and get collected up on. Perfect place for locals to put cover on, brush piles, stuff like that. Good place to find rock piles, all kinds of good stuff when you see those high humps. Let's go ahead and pull back here. I've got one spot that was way down here. Again, not saying there's nothing in here. It's just I can't mark it all, and I didn't see anything there that just really popped out at me until I got back here. When I got right back in here, I thought, that looks like a really good point. Now, why? Again, because I like those secondary points when you get way back in there and you find a really juicy point that's pretty close to the back of the coves, where all the spawning and stuff goes on. Those points can be magical pre-spawn and post-spawn areas. And so you definitely want to take your time, go back there and find points that are similar to that, because that looks like the type of point that I would really put a lot of focus on. It just looks good, right? Most people would probably be like, yeah, there's not much there, but man, that dock's right off of a big break. This has got a nice little ledge here. They got plenty of deep water. It could be here. It could also be here, right? Or it could be up here. You just never know. But I like my odds on looking at that point right there. Okay, so I'm going to pull back out and I'm just going to go up. We're going to talk about maybe these 4 more, like I said, and we'll end right there. But as we move our way back up, we're looking for those spots that come way out that have nice shallow tops on them. And again, this is like a really solid fall pattern. It's basically all year pattern. You can find it this way, but fall, for whatever reason, when you can find the really long ones like this that stay shallow for a long, long time, it seems like they just collect up there. I don't know what the deal is, but definitely fall is like, it's money time when you find those. But again, they're good all the time. Again, another good little point here. This one's a little bit further out. It's probably going to be, summer, winter type thing, but definitely something to look at. And then as we go up here, this gets really interesting from a contour perspective. You got a lot going on right here. You got a main lake point right here that goes way out here. And then on top of this point, you've got humps as well. So this hump's in 13 foot. This hump over here, it comes out 19 foot in that one area. But when you look right here, like right where this little marker is, you got a nice little ridge going on right here, a nice little break. I can see them collecting right up in here. I can see them being out off that point. I can see them being off that hump out there too, or anywhere up in here. I mean, you're just going to have to scan around, but this point looks really, really good. And then I don't know if you see anything right here that just absolutely pops at you, but hopefully it does. And that's going to be, again, that river channel over here on the left-hand side. So if we draw that river channel down and we're watching it, you're like, whoa, it comes really close to that point right there. It doesn't really touch it, but it comes awfully, awfully close to it. And it shows the riverbed coming out here. But if you look at these contours that are right here, you can tell something's going on here, like something chopped the end of this point off. And so my guess is this river channel is not marked maybe completely 100% accurate, and it probably does swing down here and touch this point ever so slightly, just right there in that area. And that is going to make that a really, really productive point, and definitely a point that should hold some fish and bait and all of that good stuff. So a good area to look at. So we'll stop right there on probably the juiciest channel swing we've seen so far. We'll stop right there. We'll come back later with more videos covering this Nutbush area, or what I've been screwing up and calling the Steel Creek area. We'll continue on talking about these offshore hotspots until we finish up this area, and then we'll pick a new one and continue on with our breakdown for Lake Kerr. Guys, if you like the videos, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to go out and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get these waypoints for your graphs, we definitely have them. Go out and check out our website, simplisticfishing.com. We've got all these offshore waypoints, plus the Google Earth waypoints. You plug it into your graph, you go out there, it will change the way you fish. It will allow you to pattern fish so much more effectively. It will also truly help you out there in those tournament days, especially when you're fishing areas you've never fished before. It'll at least let you pinpoint some really quick areas to get you on some fish. Hey, until next time, guys, I hope you catch your people.